Welcome to Mary Walter Radio. Oh, hold on, let me get rid of that. There we are. There we go. Hi, Christine. How are you?
Hi, Mary. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. If you have not done so, please subscribe to the channel and please like the podcast. You can also go back and watch past episodes on YouTube or catch the audio on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. And along those lines, I just want to thank some subscribers. Let's see, Justin and Pete and Warped and Jason. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Appreciate it. And thank you, Christine, for joining me tonight. I'm excited to have you here.
Oh my gosh, it's been way too long
It
and
has.
I'm so happy to talk to one of my favorite warrior females and especially at this time of year. And you're wearing that beautiful red cranberry kind of a little bit late Valentine's Day and I'm here in Wednesday Adams black.
This was just the next sweater in the drawer. So it's the one I just
It looks lovely.
I'm getting ready. I'm going to CPAC tomorrow. So I
Oh,
have been,
excellent.
I know, I've been crazy because you have to, you've got to have an outfit for a reception Wednesday night and then for Thursday. And then, everybody hangs out Thursday night and then Friday night and then, Saturday. But I got to have traveling clothes and I'm going to see
Where
my
is it
girl,
this year?
Rhoda. I'm
Where is
going to
it
see
this
Rhoda.
Where is it
CPAC
this
is, it's always at the Gaylord in National Harbor in Maryland.
Oh my God, that's my home state. I was born in Baltimore. One of these days I have to make it down there. I really do.
You should. It's a lot of fun. CPAC is fun. Um, it's also tiring.
I can
It's,
imagine.
but I'm going down there and I'm going to be calling into some radio stations, talking about what's going on. And Trump is speaking on Saturday.
Great.
So,
Wow.
yeah, I've been there before when Trump has spoken. You can't get in the room, so I just don't even bother. But you also can't get in or out of the hotel.
Really?
Yeah, you can't get in and out. So, it's all boom, shut down.
So you
Because
have
he,
the
I mean,
brightest conservative minds in one place at one time.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm good. The reception that I'm going to tomorrow night is Rick Grinnell, Steve Bannon, Gordon Chang.
Wow.
All these people are speaking at it. So let's see who else is going to be there. I was really surprised because usually it's just a dinner, but
Mhm.
this is a reception, and somehow I snagged an invite. Sure, they won't let
They
that happen twice.
they will be honored by your presence. Believe
Ah,
me, that's
yes.
great.
We're Wednesday. Oh, here it is. Okay, here
I
are the
love Rick
details.
Grinnell. Love listening to him.
I love him. He's great. Although he was the ambassador to Germany and doesn't speak German, so I was a little disappointed at that. Let's see. This is. Oh, come on. I guess I have to let it download. Um, I'm just trying to see. And my Google is not in a shock to no one. Google Mail is not cooperating.
Steve Bannon will be fascinating. That'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
that is going to be very, very interesting. So anyway, so that's tomorrow night, and then they have the cat. And the problem is they don't know who's showing up until really late in the game.
Hmm.
Because everybody's got. So it's a lot of moving parts for them and a lot of logistical issues for them. But it's the usual suspects. So I'm surprised Nikki Haley's not going to be there. But I think want to say this is Trump's like 14th year in a row or something like that, speaking at CPAC.
Yeah.
So he does it every year,
Oh,
which I think is pretty
he's
cool.
whatever you say about him, and I know that this is a friendly audience, and I, voted for him twice. This is a charismatic character. This is a generational charismatic figure that when you talk about the people in the last century who were able to galvanize groups of people from cutting across so many different demographics, Trump is going to have to be in the top 10, if not the top 5. He's just that
He is.
charismatic. He really
He,
is.
he is. I'll tell you when he walks into a room. Actually, I look terrible. It's with my
No, you
color.
don't.
Um, when he walks into a room, it's amazing. We were at the White House and we knew we were meeting with Pence and like Sarah Huckabee Sanders and some others, and there were about it was us, Sirius. a Philly station. I want to say it might have been PHT back in the day, and Brian Kilmeade was there for Fox News Radio. So those were the only four stations there. And so we were in the Indian Treaty Room in the old executive office building. And we knew, Pence was making the rounds and Sarah, as I said. And so we were hanging out. They already made the rounds and the next show's coming on. And you just felt something. Trump walked in the room and he sucks the air out of the room. It's incredible. All the attention goes to him. It really is. It's Obama had the same thing. Bill Clinton had the same thing, right? You have to have that to run for president. Just you have to think you're the smartest person in the room, right? Obama had that look, right? That I'm smarter than you look, the very liberal elitist look. Bill Clinton didn't play it that way. Bill Clinton didn't do that. Obama did. But you have to be a narcissist to run for president. Absolutely, 100% be a narcissist because you think you're the person who can run the most powerful country in the world. So you got to be a narcissist.
You have to have absolute confidence in your own abilities, even if you are horribly misguided about those abilities. The fact that you believe it has some kind of special power, and you can convince a large number of people that you may even be more qualified than you are. And I'm trying to think of women who have that same kind of, to a certain degree, Sarah Palin did at the very beginning when she galvanized the McCain campaign.
Before they beat her down.
Yeah. Oh, it's disgusting what they did to her. And, I follow her on Instagram. She's now doing her own stuff. She's a loving mother. She's, an amazing woman that, incredibly pro-life, raising this beautiful, beautiful kid, Trig, her youngest. And you can tell that her kids truly, truly love her. So this whole, fallacy that she was stupid, which she wasn't. She's very savvy, very smart. It was all created by Katie Couric. Where's she today? No one listens.
Yeah, what happened to her?
She fell off the ends of the earth and no one cares who or where she is right now. Yeah. And I find that happening with a lot of people who are, the flavor of the moment. Can you think of any other women who had that same kind of just,
I would say Megyn Kelly, but it's not the same. I worked with Megyn at Fox. I was on with her a lot, and super nice woman. Very bright and bubbly, and you are drawn to her, and she does command attention with her personality, but it's not as big as like Trump or Obama or Biden, dear Lord, Clinton, Biden, the most boring man there is. So yeah, not as big. Let's just get to our viewers. Let's see who's here. Jerry says, first one in, woohoo. Gail says hello. I went to high school with Jerry and Gail. So hello. Now Tax USA is here. Good evening. Tough competition tonight up against Trump. That's all right. Conservatives can walk and chew gum at the same time. Thank you. We're going to make this kind of short because I have to pack for CPAC. Then I'm going to go see my Rhoda. And then I'm going to go see friends out in the plains of Virginia. So I have a lot of moving parts with my luggage and clothing. And I don't want to have to lug everything into every place. So I'm going to need a U-Haul to go. So I had to do that when I get off here. Bill, hi, Queen Mary, and to the prettiest flower, Christine.
Oh,
that was nice.
Bill. That is so sweet.
Barry, I also went to high school with Barry. Down here in North Carolina for the winter, going to a Trump rally Friday in Rock Hill. Really excited. Make Bidenomics great again.
North Carolina, vote for John Hardister. Vote for John Hardister for Secretary of Labor or Labor Commissioner. John Hardister, he's fabulous. And North Carolina is an amazingly beautiful state.
Well, there you go, Gary. You got your walking papers from Christine. There you go. And when did you become a snowbird, dude? Barry says, hi, Christine. You come here often?
I've been to Greensboro a bunch of times. I love North Carolina. I think it's an absolutely gorgeous state. Home state of Ava Gardner. I mean, most beautiful woman in the world. So what can you say?
Well, watch it. He's single. You might just garner yourself an invite. I can vouch for him now. I can vouch for him. He's a little crazy, but I love him. Crazy in a fun way. Scott, turning off my regular radio now so I can listen to Queen Mary. Thank you so much, Scott. Now Tax USA, make sure to bring up Now Tax USA. Go to their webpage. But seriously, go to their webpage, check them out. They also have like really cool, some really nice t-shirts. And I know everybody's got a t-shirt, but there's a libertarian one. There's different ones, and they're actually I really like them. They are very nice t-shirts, so go check them out. And they're not super expensive either. Barry, hi now to Tax USA. Christie, I was thinking of Sarah Palin right before Christine said it. So there you go.
Yep.
Christine thinks about it because everyone tells her she looks like Sarah Palin. So that's why that is.
I just love the woman. Okay.
And we're live from Christine's kitchen, by the way, it looks like.
Yeah, exactly. You're not seeing my tuna fish and tomato dinner that I'm going to engage in after I finish talking to you. So hopefully my head's big enough to block that.
Yeah, that's okay. It's soup night here so that I can pack and eat at the same time. Scott says, I hope that President Trump can find a way to say that his legal issues are the result of his campaign so he can use some of that massive $1 billion I heard he gathered. I don't know what the laws are for campaign finance and all that kind of stuff. You know, I don't know. I don't know what that is. Yeah. All right. Oh, and by the way, here's the list for tomorrow night. Rick Grinnell, and then Tommy Tuberville, Daryl Issa, Ambassador Carlos Sands, Nigel Farage. He's at CPAC every year. My friends in England can't stand him. They see the political spectrum a little differently than we do.
They're not happy with Brexit. Your friends aren't happy.
No. And I bought them a mug that has George Washington on it, and it says, I Brexited before it was cool.
That's great. That's great. I love it.
I didn't send that to them because I knew they weren't thrilled about Trump. They're like, what have you done? And I'm like, we voted for liberty. We voted for freedom. So, and then we were like, yay to Brexit, cheers, and they were not happy. He worked for he was pretty high up in the government in England. So
ask him what they did. I mean, look, they've got Camilla and Charles, basically, what did you people do?
Right. And then I also said that the former UK Prime Minister Liz Truss is going to be there as well. He goes, oh, she's the shortest serving Prime Minister. It's like, yeah, okay, well, she's going to be there. I'll get a picture for you. Steve Bannon, Matt Whitaker, and Gordon Chang. So there you go.
Wonderful. Steve Bannon is amazing. Matt Whitaker is an interesting character.
I like him.
I dealt with a bunch of immigration cases that came down when he was the acting attorney general, and some I don't think he got the credit that he deserved. I think that a lot of people underestimated his intelligence. I didn't agree with a number of the decisions, but this was a smart man. So tell him an immigration lawyer, tips her hat to him, even though she doesn't entirely agree with him.
Okay. I've interviewed him several times, and he's a very, very nice man.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple things I want to talk about this first, if you don't mind. I don't know if you've heard this story. It was written by a woman named Charlotte Cowles, and she writes for The Cut, which is a section of The Atlantic. It's the Atlantic magazine. That's where E. Jean Carroll wrote her piece about accusing 21 men of sexually assaulting her.
21? They all fit into the Bergdorf Goodman dressing room?
It's amazing. Well, she was skinny, so there you go. Charlotte Cowles is The Cut's financial advice columnist. So this is a little long, but I highlighted it, and I'm going to share it with you, the important parts of this story. And I want to know if you believe this story. And I also want to know, and it's hard to admit, but has anybody been scammed? That's what I want to know. All right, so listen. She says younger adults, Gen Z, millennials, and Gen X are 34% more likely to report losing money to fraud compared with those over 60. Because usually you think it's like your parents or your grandparents who truly believe there's a Nigerian prince who wants to give them money. It's not. It turns out. But I mean, I will say we've kind of dumbed them down. I kind of feel sorry for the younger generation because we kind of really did them a disservice and made them a very not so smart generation. So it's kind of our fault. But they're apparently not so smart. 34% more likely to report losing money to fraud compared with those over 60, according to a report from the FTC. Another study found that well-educated people, or those with good jobs, are just as vulnerable to scams as everyone else. So all the liberal elites who believe that education equals intelligence are just as dumb as, the Trump supporters who are all rubes and rednecks and hillbillies, right?
Yeah.
She says, I'm a journalist who had a weekly column in the business section of the New York Times. I've written a personal finance column for this magazine for the past 7 years. I interview money experts all the time and take their advice seriously. Now, with that in mind, let's explore what happened, shall we? Gregory says, the Atlantic, little in the Atlantic can be believed. Yeah, they published E. Jean Carroll's thing. Her list of horrible men. It was October 31st, and she said about 12:30 in the afternoon, my phone buzzed. The caller ID said it was Amazon. I answered. A polite woman with a vague accent told me she was calling from Amazon customer service to check some unusual activity on my account. The call was being recorded for quality assurance, and she asked if I had recently spent $8,000 on MacBooks and iPads. I had not. I checked my Amazon account. My order history showed diapers and groceries, no iPads. The woman, who said her name was Krista, told me the purchases had been made under my business account. I don't have a business account, I said. She said, our system shows that you have two. Krista and I concurred that I was the victim of identity theft, and she said she would flag the fraudulent accounts and freeze their activity. She provided me with a case ID number for future reference and recommended that I check my credit cards. I did, and everything looked normal. I thanked her for her help. So far, right? Okay. So far, right? Believable. Chris Christie says, does E. Jean Carroll even deny nicking her story from Law and Order episode? No, she does not. Okay. I think for her. Then Krista explained, not so fast, that Amazon had been having a lot of problems with identity theft and false accounts lately. It had become so pervasive that the company was working with a liaison at the Federal Trade Commission and was referring defrauded customers to him. Could she connect me? I said, sure. Krista transferred the call to a man who identified himself as Calvin Mitchell. He said he was an investigator with the FTC. He gave me his badge number and had me write down his direct phone line in case I needed to contact him again. He also told me our call was being recorded. He asked me to verify the spelling of my name. Then he read me the last 4 digits of my social security number, my home address, and my date of birth to confirm that they were correct. The fact that he had my social security number threw me. I was getting nervous. Now, this woman wrote a business column for the New York Times.
I mean, You can see this coming a mile away. You do not give any information or confirmation of anything to anyone, and you cannot recognize who is on the other line. How stupid could she be?
Right? It gets dumber, which is why I don't think this is real. I think she wrote this, and I think this is a big stinking lie. I think this is BS. She just wanted the publicity, a lot of clicks, that kind of thing. I call horse hockey on this. All right. I'm glad we're speaking, said Calvin. Your personal information is linked to a case that we've been working on for a while now, and it's quite serious. He told me that 22 bank accounts, 9 vehicles, and 4 properties were registered to my name. The bank accounts had wired more than $3 million overseas, mostly to Jamaica and Iraq. Did I know about this? No, I said. Did I know someone named Stella Suk Yi Kwang? I don't think so, I said. He texted me a photo of her ID, which he claimed had been found in a car rented under my name that was abandoned on the southern border of Texas with blood and drugs in the trunk.
Oh my God.
A home in New Mexico affiliated with the car rental had subsequently been raided, he added, and authorities found more drugs, cash, and bank statements registered to my name and social security number. He texted me a drug bust photo of bags of pills and money stacked on a table. He told me there were warrants out for my arrest in Maryland and Texas and that I was being charged with cyber crimes, money laundering, and drug trafficking. My head swam. I Googled my name along with warrant and money laundering, but nothing came up. Were arrest warrants public? I wasn't sure. Google led me to truthfinder.com, which asked for my credit card information. Nope. I texted my husband. I'm in deep shit. I used the airport. My identity was stolen, and it seems really bad. Now, Calvin wants to know if I knew anyone who might be the culprit or if I had any connections to Iraq or Jamaica. And he asked if I ever used public or unsecured Wi-Fi. And I said, I don't know. I used the airport Wi-Fi recently. He said, that's unfortunate. It's how many of these breaches start. I was embarrassed. It was like I left my fly unzipped. How could I have been so thoughtless? But didn't everybody use the airport Wi-Fi? And he said, the first thing you must do is not tell anyone what is going on. Everyone around you is suspect. Hold on. Gregory says, I'm waiting for the Nigerian prince to appear.
No, but this is so facially, obviously
I
wrong.
know.
I can't believe, I agree with you. I think this is just something set up so she gets fought. No human being is this stupid in this day and age to confirm or deny any information from someone over the telephone. Oh my God.
Yeah.
These people are idiots, moronic idiots. God.
Poor Tree Farm. I call the ones that call me lady boys and prostitutes. All right. She said, I almost laughed. I told him I was quite sure that my husband, who works for an affordable housing nonprofit and makes meticulous spreadsheets for our childcare expenses, was not a secret drug smuggler. Calvin said, I believe you, but even so, your communications are probably under surveillance. You cannot talk to him about this. So I deleted the text messages I had sent my husband a few minutes earlier. These are sophisticated criminals with a lot of money at stake. You should assume you're in danger and being watched. You cannot take any chances. Calvin wanted to know how much money I currently had in my bank account. I told him I had 2 checking and savings with a combined balance of a little over $80,000. And she keeps emergency money just like Fannie Willis. But she does it because she works in art, she's a writer. So you never know when you're going to need money. So she keeps it in the bank. And then he said, well, you must have worked very hard to save all that money. Do not share your bank account information with anyone. I'm going to help you keep your money safe. And he said he was going to transfer me to his colleague at the CIA, who was the lead investigator on my case, and gave me a 9-digit case number for my records. I Googled the number, nothing. He said the CIA agent would tell me what to do next, and he wished me luck. She said if it was a scam, I couldn't see the angle at that point because no one had asked me for money or told me to buy crypto. They only encouraged me not to share my banking information. They hadn't asked for personal details. They already knew them. I hadn't been told to click on anything.
They've got her on the line. I mean, they've got her on the line. You trace a number. There's so many things that they could do with her. It's just unbelievable.
The next man who got on the line had a deeper voice and a slight British accent, flecked with something I couldn't identify. He told me his name was Michael Serrano and that he worked for the CIA on cases involving the FTC. He gave me his badge number. I'm going to need more than that, I said. I have no reason to believe that any of what you're saying is real. I completely understand, he said very calmly. He told me to go to the FTC homepage, look up the main phone number. Now hang up the phone and I will call you from that number right now. I did as he said. The FTC number flashed on my screen and I picked up and said, how do I know you're not just spoofing this? He said, it's a government number. I cannot be spoofed. And I wasn't sure if this was true. And I tried Googling it, but Michael was already on to his next point. He told me the call was being recorded. So I put him on speaker and began recording on my end too. He wanted to know if I had told anyone what was going on. I admitted I texted my husband. He said, you must reassure him that everything is fine. In many cases like this, we have to investigate the spouse as well. And the less he knows, the less he is implicated. From now on, you have to follow protocol if you want us to help you. And she said, I don't think I should lie to my husband. He said, you are being investigated for major federal crimes. By keeping your husband out of this, you are protecting him. And he repeated the point Calvin had made about my phone and computer being hacked and monitored by the criminals who had stolen my identity. Michael snowed me with the same stories Calvin had. They were consistent. He asked if I shared my residence with anyone besides my husband and son. Then he asked more questions about my family members, including my parents, my brothers, and my sister-in-law. He knew their names. He knew where they lived. I told him they had nothing to do with this. In fact, I was now sure I wanted to consult a lawyer. Right? Which is what you think someone would do right away. I have a piece of hair that's driving me crazy.
I would have hung up about 10
I know, right?
I mean, this is a joke. I'm sorry. You don't get transferred to other. I just don't get this whole point. And you don't need to be. You don't need to have a Villanova pedigree, and you don't need to be smart to know that you don't talk to strangers on the phone, and the CIA does not reach out to you, and the FTC doesn't reach out to you on the phone and give you all of this information. It's just not done.
Okay, so I actually did have someone.
How stupid she is.
I did have someone from the FBI reach out to me once about somebody, so that did happen. Phone? Yeah.
And you were able to get their identity. They confirmed who they were.
Well, I knew what they wanted. They told me what was going on, and I knew this person had been indicted. So I was like, okay,
I don't
So,
talk to anybody I don't know on the
and it
phone.
wasn't about me,
No.
so I don't care. And I wanted to send him right down the river because he owed me 30 grand. So,
Okay.
so I was like, what do you want to know? Oh, do you know about this? Do you know about that? I
I
told
got
him
photos.
everything.
I got photos.
Exactly. And he did go away. So I felt very happy, like I did my civic duty.
Oh, you were there.
Okay. He told me, if you talk to an attorney, I can't help you anymore. You will be considered non-cooperative. Your home will be raided and your assets will be seized. You may be arrested. It's your choice. This seemed ludicrous. I said, can I just come to your office and sort this out in person? It's getting late. I need to take my son trick-or-treating soon.
Finally, finally.
Yeah, he said, my office is in Langley. We don't have enough time. We need to act immediately. I'm going to talk you through the process. It's going to sound crazy, but we must follow protocol if we're going to catch the people behind this. Are you ready? Because it gets dumber from here. It gets really dumb. He explained that the CIA would need to freeze all the assets in my name, including my actual bank accounts. In the eyes of the law, there was no difference between the real and the fraudulent ones, he said. They would also deactivate my compromised social security number and get me a new one. Then, by monitoring any activity under my old social security number and accounts, they would catch the criminals who were using my identity and I would get my life back. But until then, I would need to use only cash for day-to-day expenses. It was far-fetched, ridiculous, but not out of the complete realm of possibility.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yes.
To normal, intelligent human beings, it kind of is.
So she asked if she had any other options, and he said, no, you must follow my directions very carefully. We do not have much time. He asked me how much cash I thought I would need to support myself for a year if necessary. My assets could be frozen for up to 2 years if the investigation dragged on. He said there could be a trial. I might need to testify. These things take time. So I said, I don't know, $50,000. I said, I wondered how I would receive paychecks without a bank account. Would I have to take time off from work? I did some mental calculations of how much my husband could float us for and how long. Okay, he said, you need to go to the bank and get that cash out now. You cannot tell them what it is for. In one of my last cases, the identity thief was someone who worked at the bank. Michael told me to keep the phone on speaker so we could remain in contact. It's important that I monitor where this money goes from now on. Remember, all of your assets are part of this investigation. And he told me one of his colleagues would meet me at my apartment at 5 p.m. to guide me through the next steps. I said, you cannot send a complete stranger to my home. My son's here. He said, let me worry about that. It's my job. But if you don't cooperate, I cannot keep you safe. It's your choice. And she says, it's impossible to explain why I accepted this logic, but I've been given marching orders and a deadline. My son would be home soon, and I had to fix this mess. So I put on sneakers in case I needed to run. I brought a backpack for cash. I felt terrified and absurd. I was on high alert for anyone who might be following me. At one point, a man in sunglasses and a hoodie trailed me for a few blocks. At Michael's suggestion, I ducked into a parking garage until he passed. When I reached the bank, I told the guard I needed to make a large cash withdrawal, and she sent me upstairs. Michael was on speakerphone in my pocket. I asked the teller for $50,000. The woman behind the thick glass window raised her eyebrows, disappeared into a back room, came back with a large metal box of $100 bills and counted them out with a machine. Then she pushed the stack of bills through the slot along with a sheet of paper warning me about scams. I thanked her and left. Michael was bursting with praise. You did a great job. I have to go for a moment to see about the details of your case. I'm going to have you speak to my colleague if you have any questions. So he put a woman on the phone. She was younger with an accent I couldn't identify. And she told me to go home and await further instructions.
With the money, with the $50,000?
With the $50,000. As I walked back to my apartment, something jolted me out of my trance and I became furious. No government agency would establish this as protocol. It was preposterous. I need to speak with Michael, I told the woman on the phone. He got on right away. I don't even believe that you're a CIA agent. What you're asking me to do is completely unreasonable. He sighed. I'm sending you a photo of my badge right now. I don't know what else to tell you. You can trust me and I will help you, or you can hang up and put yourself and your family in danger. Do you really want to take that risk with a young child?
Hang up.
A picture of Michael's badge appeared on my phone. I had no way of verifying it. It could easily have been photoshopped. I don't trust you at all, but it doesn't seem like I have any other choice.
What? I don't trust you. I don't know who you are. You had me pull out $50,000 from my bank, but I have no choice.
Yes. So when I got home, Michael told me to get a box, put the cash in it, take a picture of it, then tape it shut. Michael told me to label it with my name, my case number, my address, a locker number he read to me, and my signature. Then he directed me to take another picture of the labeled box and text it to him. He said, my colleague will be there soon. He's an undercover CIA agent and he will secure the money for you. What exactly would that entail? I asked. He said, tonight we will close down your social security number and you will lose access to your bank accounts. Tomorrow, you will need to go to the social security office and get a new social security number. We'll secure this money for you in a government locker and hand deliver a treasury account for the same amount. You can cash the check and use it for your expenses until the investigation is over. Why can't I just use this cash? I asked. Why do you have to take it and give me a check? Because all of your assets under your current identity are part of this investigation. You are being charged with money laundering. If we secure this cash and then issue you a government check under your new social security number, that will be considered clean money. I said, I'll need to see your colleague's badge. I'm not just going to give you $50,000 of my money to somebody I don't know. Okay.
Well, that's nice. Good.
Undercover agents don't carry badges.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
They're undercover. Remember, you're probably being watched. The criminals cannot know that a CIA agent is there. In a twisted way, this made some amount of sense to me. Or maybe I had lost my grip on reality so completely that I was willing to resign myself to this new version of it. Most important, I didn't know what else to do. Even if Michael wasn't working for the CIA, which struck me as more and more likely, he was sending a man to our address. I felt a sickening dread that he might ask to come inside. If giving him money would make him go away, I was ready to do it. I was on the phone for nearly 5 hours. I wanted to take my son trick-or-treating. I was exhausted. I'm sorry, that's not worth $50,000 to me because I'm exhausted.
No.
So Michael says you can meet him outside if that would make you more comfortable. And I felt relieved. He told her to eat something because she hadn't eaten in a while. And he started talking to her about her job. And I said I was going to Washington, D.C. later that week. And he said, great, you could come by my office in Langley. Where are you staying? A little after 6, Michael told me to go downstairs. His colleague was arriving. My husband had just come home from work and was readying our son. What's going on? Is everything okay? He asked as I put my coat on. I motioned to the phone and shushed him because Michael was still on the phone, still on speakerphone. I whispered, I have to go downstairs and meet a guy who's helping with the identity theft case. I'll explain more later. He frowned and said, what? And I told him I had to go. I met the SUV at the curb and put the money in the back seat. It was 6:06 p.m. Even if I tried to see who was driving, the windows were tinted and it was dusk. He maybe wore a baseball cap. As I walked back inside, Michael texted me a photo of a treasury check made out to me for $50,000 and told me a hard copy would be hand delivered in the morning. He was working on setting up my appointment with the Social Security office. You will receive a confirmation text shortly. Stay on the line until you do. I felt oddly comforted by this. An appointment would give me something legitimate, an actual connection to a government agency. Now, here's where I thought, I'll give you the box if you give me the check, right? Like you don't put the box in the back of a car and then they'll send you the check tomorrow.
I'm sorry. I'm not even at the point where they're getting my money. No one's
I know.
No one.
So at one point I checked, I took my son trick-or-treating, my speakerphone on in my pocket. At one point I checked to see if Michael was still there. His female colleague answered and said he'd be back soon. When I got home, I checked again and the line was dead. I panicked and called back. The woman said, Michael's busy. He'll call you in the morning. How many times have women ever heard that? I said, do I have an appointment at the Social Security office? She said, Michael will call you tomorrow. He hasn't been able to secure your appointment yet. The Social Security office is now closed. And then it all hit her. Oh my God. I said to my hands tingling, you're lying to me. Michael was lying. You just took my money and I'm never getting it back. That wasn't true, the woman said. She understood that I was upset. She was sorry. Everything would be fine. You're an effing liar, I hissed and hung up. Through choking sobs, I told my husband what happened. Why didn't you tell me? He asked. I would have stopped you. That I told him I was trying to protect him, but saying that out loud seems so idiotic. I called my parents and my brother. At their urging, I called 911. Around 10:30 p.m., 3 officers came over and took my statement, and I struggled to recount what I had done. So long story short, they're like, even if you got the license plate number, we can look at security cameras, but that guy, because you wrote a locker number on it, was just a delivery dude. He was just picking up a delivery and delivering it to this locker, right?
I'm sorry. She deserves what she got.
I know, right?
No pity. What an idiot. That woman should not be allowed to have children. She has a kid. Don't let her near that poor child. Have someone else.
I know.
I have no pity for her, Mary. That is absolutely asinine, moronic. You hang up that phone 20 minutes into the conversation. How you know what? I don't know. I tend to agree with you. Someone who wrote a financial column for, what was it, the New York Times, what was it, the
Yeah,
Washington Post?
New York
I
Times.
really don't think she could have been that stupid. I think
I
this is
agree.
fiction. I think this is
Uh-huh.
fiction.
Yep.
Like, remember how we used to think growing up that that book, Go Ask Alice, was actually a real diary, when we found out later on that it was not a real diary of a real girl. It was fabricated. I found this out years later. There were little bits of truth in
I
it,
read that.
but it was fiction. It wasn't her actual diary. This is the same thing. This is not a real story. This is a made up story. She should get the Pulitzer Prize for fiction. This is crazy.
I never read Go Ask Alice. I have no idea even what it was.
I did. It was the diary. Some of your fans and followers would know what it is. Go Ask Alice came out in 1971, written by Anonymous, and it was a diary purported to be the diary of a young girl who fell into drug abuse. She accidentally got hooked on drugs, and then it goes through this whole gory thing, and it was supposed to be, this warning for parents and kids not to use drugs. And it came out when I was it 1971, so I was 10. And I remember not reading it until I was 12 or 13 and freaking out about it and saying, oh my God, this is horrible. Someone could accidentally get hooked on drugs. And it was a generational story, and it's still sold. I saw it in the bookstore the other day. But another book has come out debunking the whole authenticity of that story.
Oh.
Not real. And they basically sort of combine stories of different people into a composite of one human being, but it's not a diary. It's fiction. It's still a great book, but when you read it now, it's not true.
That's not real. Yeah, I mean I've heard of it, but I never read it. I just love that someone accidentally gets hooked on drugs. I hate when that happens. I hate when I accidentally take drugs.
Well, and this is where people should have been, clear on this, because she goes to this party and they play this game called Button Button, Who's Got the Button? Probably never heard of that story, but what it was they had, Coca-Cola. People had bottles of Coca-Cola, and they would drop an LSD pill into some select bottles, and nobody knew who was getting the LSD. So Alice, she's never actually named in the book, gets one of the Coca-Cola bottles, drinks it, starts feeling weird and has an out-of-body experience, and she gets sick. And then she realizes what happened. She had the LSD, and then she goes home. She says, I'm never going to do drugs again. And then she does drugs again because she likes the way it made her feel, and she's with the in crowd. Then she moves on to heroin. But the funny thing is,
there's a
the
funny part.
hilarious thing about this is that she does LSD, she does mushrooms, she does heroin. I mean, she's mainlining heroin. But the big thing, the thing where she graduates to the worst drug of all, is when she smokes pot. That's the moment in the book where she has literally, whatever, what do they call it? Playing with the dragon. I have no idea. I don't know any of this stuff. But I'm reading this book, and she's like, oh my God, it's like reefer madness. I mean, like, I'm against pot. It smells. It's disgusting. I hate it. But to say that marijuana, not the marijuana that we have today, which is laced with fentanyl and all this other stuff, or PCP or whatever they have, and it's very strong today. But to say back in 1971 that smoking a marijuana cigarette was worse than,
LSD,
shooting heroin into your veins, it's just bizarre. It's really. But that was it, 1971.
That's
I read
hilarious.
that around the same time that I was reading Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. So it was a very interesting year.
So, fun fact about Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Judy Blume, from New Jersey, and
Right.
there's a rest area named after her. And fun fact, when I was that age, in that area, she lived in our town. She lived right down the road from my husband.
Are you
And
kidding? What
no,
town was
dead
that?
serious. Yeah. Judy Blume lived. I know the house she lived in. Yeah, they were
What
like,
town?
oh, that's where Judy Blume lives.
She was the voice of a generation. And I remember the book when Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I was in the 6th or the 7th grade. And there were 2 copies. That's it. And it was not even in the library. 2 girls bought these books. And there was a waiting list that the book was circulating. So, when it came to your turn, you'd read. And I remember reading the book and thinking, oh my God, this is just the best book I've ever read in my life. This is like
Yep.
Dickens. This is the best. And it actually was. It was a great book. The
It
movie
was.
that they made of it was not that great. I saw the movie.
No,
It didn't do it justice.
no,
But
it did
yeah,
not.
so Go Ask Alice, and Go Ask Alice is also, what is that, White Rabbit, the song by
Oh
Jefferson
yeah,
Airplane?
The Doors. Isn't that the Doors?
I thought it was Jefferson Airplane.
Or who said
It might be the Doors, but I
Go
know
Ask
that
Alice was
song
a
plays
song,
through.
right? Wasn't the song Go Ask Alice? She's
Yeah,
been there. Yeah,
Go Ask
I thought that was the Doors.
Alice when she's
Yeah,
10 feet tall.
right.
Go Ask Alice.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Who
if you
sang
go
that?
on YouTube, they actually have a television
Jefferson
movie.
Airplane. Excuse me, Jefferson Airplane. You're right.
Grace Slick. But if
Yep.
you go on YouTube, there was a movie made of the book in 1973. It was a ABC movie of the week. And if you go on YouTube, Jamie Lee Johnson, I think was the name of the girl who played Alice. It's actually it's a good movie. It's very well done. And it scared the bejesus out of me. Not that I was ever going to, drink a Coca-Cola without knowing what was in my Coca-Cola, but it really did scare a generation of kids. And, to find out that it wasn't real doesn't change the fear that we felt, but it is kind of depressing to realize that it wasn't an authentic diary.
I can understand that. I can totally understand that. I'm trying to think. Speaking of Jefferson Airplane, so another fun fact: the guy Slick Mark Aguilar in Jefferson Starship played lead guitar.
Yeah.
He was married to a woman who worked in my husband's office. They live in the next town over. Yeah, they live in the next town over.
I swear to God, it's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whoever you are.
When you live in New Jersey, you're like, yeah, that guy lives over here. This guy lives. The way it is.
Jersey
All right,
has a lot of famous people.
Let's go to. He was very nice, by the way. Slick's a super nice guy. Haven't seen him in years though. Porch Farm. Oh wait, we did that one. Okay, now Tax USA says, ironically, I had a scam call like that for taxes, and the thug told me we had to meet at CVS.
CVS. Just give him your CVS bucks. Don't
There you
real
go.
Money.
I have to tell you, if they told me to put the money in a box and take a picture, I would have put like a bunch of hundreds on top of some stuff and taken the picture, like played along. And then I would have emptied the stuff out and taken the hundreds out and filled it with like cat litter, like dirty cat litter, and then taped it all up and put it in the car.
I would have
used done something like that.
Or just gotten authentically looking fake money. It's just
no
way. No way.
Yeah.
I don't think this really happened. I don't believe it happened.
I don't either. Porch View Farm. This chick must not be addicted to pierogi and scammer payback. There are women convinced Johnny Depp is an online boyfriend. What is pierogi and scammer payback? Hold on. Pierogi and scammer payback. Hold on. Pierogi scammer payback. Oh, he's also known by his nickname Pierogi, the internet alias of an American YouTuber and streamer who specializes in creating content about scam baiting against phone scams. Okay. I love to play with them. Sometimes I do answer the phone and play with them. I got into a long thing that went on for like a week online. We have like a crap email that we give out for when you have to give out your email address to stuff, and we use that one. So this guy was going to he had like $4 million for me that someone left me. And that so-and-so, Leonard Smith died. And I wrote it back. I'm like, oh no, not Leonard. And so I went through the whole thing. And I was like, well, listen, I have a friend who lives in England well, where in London are you? And I went through the whole thing. And I was like, oh, my friend will come and pick up the check. Thank you. And so I found where his office was, and he tells me. And so I went online and I looked it up. I'm like, well, that's a residential building. Oh, no, well, not the top floors. The whole thing. I kept this guy going for weeks. And I was like, look, I know your BS. I just wanted to keep you going because the more time you spent with me was the less time you're going to try to scam somebody else who may believe you. So goodbye. This has been fun. You're a moron. Chris says, I got a scam call once. I put my cousin on the phone who did a wicked Pacino Scarface impression, and Officer O'Reilly hung up. Scott says there's an FBI form you can fill out and send in with your fingerprints, and they will check all 50 states for a record. Excuse me. periodically done. It's good for identity theft protection, maybe, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I use it too in my immigration practice. The same thing.
Right, okay, there you go. Now Tax USA says, with the current CIA and FBI, this story is not out of the complete realm of possibilities.
Yeah, but the CIA and the FBI weren't the stupid idiots. I'm sorry. I have a really hard time believing that there are people out there. But then again, there were all of those old people who used to send money to Jim and Tammy Faye Baker at the PTL club. So, and they believed that they were buying a place in heaven. So, what is it? PT Barnum, there's a sucker born every minute.
Yeah,
they're keep being born.
But this woman falls into the Gen Z, Millennial, Gen X cohort, which is 34% more likely to wind up losing money to fraud, as opposed to the people over 60 who are much more cynical and less likely to. So there's been a flip somewhere along the line. Porch View Farm says, unfortunately, Tax, you are correct. Chris says, oh my God, now I understand how so many people in the US were fooled into voting against Trump. Gregory, you've never been dosed? Don't drink from any punch bowl. No, I've never been dosed. Does that happen to people? It's never happened.
It used to happen. It never happened to me because I never went to parties.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as slipping a Mickey. It's just you have to be vigilant at all times and make sure that you don't put your drink down. You don't look away. That drink is in your hand at all times. People will do this. There are a lot of opportunistic people out there. So yeah, got to be very careful. But it was a thing apparently back in the 60s when I was a toddler, button, who's got the button? And they it's just I don't know. And that's another stupid people. You just like I don't know. I've become so cynical in my dotage, Mary. I think I was always cynical and very mistrustful. I'm not trusting. I'm not a trusting person to begin with. It's the Italian Irish, we call it in Italian, it's called tu sei schiva, which basically means you don't trust anyone. You're very skeptical.
Right.
And I do not. I don't trust anyone. I would have been like doubting Thomas. I'm putting my hand right in Jesus's torso to make sure that those really are holes from the nails. But I cannot believe that someone would be so stupid as to take actual cash out of their account, $50,000, put it in a box and give it to a stranger. If that really did happen, that woman needs to be stripped of custody of her children.
Squeaky said, yeah, Jefferson Airplane. Star Driver says, sorry, I'm late. I was watching my cousin Vinny. 3 words, Mona Lisa Vito.
Mona Lisa Vito. I love that
movie.
scene where she talks about the little bitty deer, and you're going to shoot the little bitty deer right between the eyes. You know what? People used to make fun of Marisa Tomei and how she did not deserve that Oscar. She made that movie. She did. Was her movie. She was brilliant. I still think she's a great actress.
Yeah. My biological clock is ticking. But what happened to her?
Actually, I follow her on Instagram. She's been in movies. She does things. She was there's a great movie she was in. She was in The Wrestler with Mickey O'Rourke when she was nominated for an Oscar. That was like 10 years ago. But she's been in a lot of good things, but really small indie kind of movies. She played Aunt, what's her name? Aunt in the Spider-Man movie. Aunt Mabel, Aunt Mavis, Aunt Pearl.
I don't know. I got nothing.
She played Spider-Man's aunt. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't see that movie. Star Driver said, I kept getting a recorded call about Microsoft. It would say my name and how are you today? I finally got mad and replied back, I'm just effing dandy. The computer call paused and said, okay, and hung up.
Your computer was an Immaculate Heart nun. Did not
there you go. Star Driver says she's the best part of the movie, Marisa Tomei. He agrees with you.
Absolutely.
Now Tax USA says, after the New York case, it's being called trumped. The scammers were the judge and the AG.
I agree. I absolutely agree. That is outrageous. Of all of these cases, this particular one, a victimless crime, everyone was made whole. You're talking about banks. Banks are not these innocent little deer in the forest. They understand. They did their investigation. They did their due diligence. I don't think that the crime that Trump allegedly committed is a strict liability crime, meaning that there has to be some damage. There have to be damages, and they couldn't assess these damages. So that 300 and some $1 million, that's all punitive. That's not
Yep.
compensatory damages because no one suffered a loss. It's outrageous. It really is outrageous. I don't care if you support Trump or you're against Trump. This is dangerous because if they can do it to Donald Trump, they can do it to you. And it's
You know what?
disgusting.
But this is what happens, not to change the subject here. By the way, isn't she Peter Parker's aunt? Yes.
Yeah, Peter
And
Parker's aunt.
start
What's her name? Aunt May.
Chris Christie just said, isn't she Peter Parker's aunt?
She
He didn't give us a name.
Aunt May. Aunt May.
Aunt May. Okay, there you go. Star Driver says the biggest fraud in New York City is the DA's office. See, but here's the thing. What they are doing is what every fascist takeover does, right? We're following the same playbook. Is they have demonized Trump so much. We now know that Obama and Biden and the rest of them had the CIA and the FBI, etc., and the Five Eyes spying on an American citizen, spying on Trump, spying on 29 of his cohorts, 29 of his associates, the Five Eyes, foreign governments spying on an American presidential candidate. That wasn't a blip in the news. Wasn't even a blip in the news because the people on the left would be like, good, because he's a criminal. Yes, he's a terrible, horrible person. They demonize the opponent so that anything they do is accepted and cheered because it's punitive, right?
Right.
Look at, I'm not going to make a complete comparison here, but Alexei Navalny, right? He is a Putin opponent. Putin obviously had him offed. We know that.
Putin murdered him. And anyone who doesn't come out and decry Putin, I'm sorry, I have a big problem with that. We can talk about that another day. But Putin is an evil, evil, murderous man, and he killed Navalny.
Yes. But my point is that Navalny was jailed and sent to some horrible, prison way up in the, right up in the Arctic Circle. Yet you have American citizens who are in a gulag in Washington, D.C. in solitary confinement for 3 years with no trial date yet.
And I've written about this, and I was on the radio this morning talking about this. I'm upset about what I think is a deprivation of civil rights of some of the January 6th protesters, the people who didn't engage in any violence, the people who didn't trespass. What's happening to them is wrong. But I do not raise that to the level of what happened to Alexei Navalny.
No, I'm not. But my point is we're on that road because we have people who are cheering the deprivation of rights because they don't like the people.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. And I see that most obviously with Donald Trump. And I do think that he's being deprived of his due process rights. I think it's, excuse me, most especially and most obviously, I believe, in the New York case, even though it's a civil case. There are criminal penalties that were available, but it to me, because they don't like the person, this is so reminiscent of what I deal with on a daily basis in my asylum work. You go to Venezuela right now and you say something against Maduro and the government, you're in jail and your family will never hear from you again. This is happening all over the world. So the United States is not in a particularly advantageous position here to point fingers at other countries. It's not widespread in the United States, although Mark Hoke, the pro-life activist whose home was invaded by a SWAT team, other pro-life activists who have been jailed, people that I know, friends of mine, because of trespass, they might disagree with this. Again, some of the J6 protesters, to me, it's not as widespread as it is in other countries around the world. But you're right, Mary. The camel is putting its nose under the tent. And if we keep allowing this to happen, we are not going to be that shining city on a hill that Reagan, praised and talked about. And we have to be very, very careful about who we elect the next time around, whether it cannot be Joe Biden, and it cannot be someone like Joe Biden who would appoint judges, who would appoint AGs, special prosecutors, who would facilitate the kind of activity that is being done right now with the U.S. government going against U.S. citizens. It is scary. It's upsetting. But again, Navalny stands alone. That to me
Right.
is the single most horrific act that has occurred in the last 10 years. And I wish there were more of an outcry. I don't hear the outcry on the right or the left. People have their own motives to just sort of say, oh, well, it's not bad. We need to revile Putin. Putin is an evil man, and I don't care if that makes me sound like a crazy woman who is in league with Joe Biden. Putin is a vicious, evil man.
Agree. Absolutely agree. But and our government may not be killing these people, but what, 6 J6ers have committed suicide?
Yeah, I know.
So they drive you to do it to yourself because they ruin you. So, and the big thing is this whole insurrection issue, it's in front of the Supreme Court right now, one of the J6ers. If they rule that there was no insurrection here, like what, and by the questioning, it sounds like that's the way the ruling was going to be. Who knows? Where do these people go to get their lives back? Where do these people go to get their jobs back, their reputations back, the money back that was spent, the 3 years that they spent in solitary confinement by themselves?
Maybe some of those lawyers, maybe some of those wonderful, admirable lawyers who ran to represent the Guantanamo detainees and their deprivation of civil rights. Maybe they'll represent these guys in 1983 lawsuits, civil rights lawsuits to get money back. They won't get the years back. They won't get their reputations back, as Ray Donovan said, Secretary of Labor under Reagan. They won't get that. But maybe some of these wonderful, motivated civil rights lawyers who represented the Guantanamo terrorists will take a look at the J6 guys.
Well, they're finding it hard to even get representation in Washington, D.C. They should be tried at home, but they're being tried in D.C. because it's virtually impossible for them to find representation because the lawyers are being ostracized, and the lawyers are now, Democrat lawyers are going after anyone who defends a January 6th defendant.
I know. So, a lot of lawyers are being ridiculed and mocked. Look what they did to Alina Habba, I think is her last name.
Yeah.
What I saw, I saw Jake Tapper on CNN ridiculing the school that she went to. She went to Widener Law School. Widener Law School is a respectable law school. It's not an Ivy. It's not setting the world on fire, but it's turning out solid, good, intelligent attorneys. And you got Jake Tapper on CNN making fun of Alina Habba because she went to Widener Law School. You've got people on The View making fun of Alina Habba because she misspoke about certain questions that she had wanted to pose at trial. And because she's a conservative woman and because she's representing Donald Trump,
she has to be destroyed.
It's open season on attacking and ridiculing. And you saw what happened when you posted. I mean, this is off the it's neither here nor there. But you saw what happened when you posted that we were going to be on the podcast tonight. All of the women came out of the woodwork, all of the liberal women, and they started attacking. And I'm sure some of them are trolling and watching now. And there is this desire to diminish conservatives in general and conservative women in particular.
Yep. 100%. 100%. It's great that you're a woman. You're just not the right kind of woman, So it's all of that. Let's see. Got a lot of comments here. Let's get to them. And I don't think our friends are watching because they're not trolling us, which there's no comments.
Maybe they're not getting Wi-Fi in mommy's basement.
Well, I didn't know if they allow it in prison where that one woman, I'm sure, is, with the mouth on her. I'm sure she's exchanging something for cigarettes.
One of them is a lawyer who had to leave the legal practice because she wasn't that successful, and now she's doing something else like basket weaving or something. So,
well, yes, and I'm sure she's dyed her hair green, because that's right. I like the fact that they do that because then you can just see them in the wild. We were coming from Spokane to Denver on Thursday, and this woman gets on, and she's older, and a little heavier, not too, but definitely at it didn't work out a whole lot, and she had, what did she have? I think she had green hair, like a shade of green hair. I think it was green, and I just looked at my husband. He looked at me, and goes, "Don't say it, don't say it."
You know what I wonder? The people, the women, the younger women who have like these arm sleeves and all these tattoos, they do realize that they're going to be 60 one day and they're going to be 70 one day. And that stuff up here on the collarbone is going to be way down below the breastbone. And do they truly honestly think that this is something attractive? I walked by tonight. We have two different places in Philadelphia, in Center City, which specialize in removing tattoos. My thought being, why get the tattoo in the first place if you're going to have the regret about it? And I'm sorry, I'm not a tattoo person, on men or women. Not a big.
Yeah, no, she didn't have
tattoo
any.
fan.
She didn't have any visible tattoos, but I think the same thing you do. The ink gets absorbed into your body, and it's less and less vibrant. And I'm like, that foreign substance, and you're all about green and the earth and this and that and everything else, and that's getting absorbed into your body and being processed through like your liver and your lymph nodes and everything else. Like, what are you doing?
Plus,
And
it's aesthetically, I mean, it just looks like a tie-dye shirt. I mean, your like body has become a tie-dye t-shirt.
And listen, some people love it. God bless you. That's fine. But tattoos used to be the sign of being a rebel. Now everybody has one. You're not a rebel anymore.
The only tattoos I like are when the Marines had the tattoo with the anchor and then mom in the middle of it, or USMC. That tattoo is great. Anything else, I'm sorry. And I know it's a very controversial subject. I know that there are women who love their tattoos, and I know that there are men who think that that's great to have a tattoo. And I'm sorry. 62-year-old old fart Christine doesn't think that that's a good idea at all.
I would never do it myself, but I also like to be different. I'm the rebel because everybody else has a tattoo. So if you all have tattoos, you're not rebels anymore. Now you're part of the establishment.
That's right. I have an intact
I'm the rebel because I don't have them.
Look, Mare, I don't have a pierced septum. I have an intact one. Wow. I am woman. Hear me roar. I am a rebel too.
I can do you one better.
What?
I don't have pierced ears.
Wow. That queen. I gave in at the age of 13.
Nope. I didn't want to do it because everybody was, first of all, I wasn't allowed to do it till like my 16th birthday or whatever. But my mom didn't have pierced ears. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to do it because everybody else was doing it. So I didn't want to do it because everybody was doing it. I'm like, I'm going to be like everybody else. I'm not doing it. So I didn't do it. And I find the idea of sticking metal through a hole in my skin and hanging things off of it to be disgusting. It's like I think that's gross.
Well, my mother, when I was 13, because I wanted to get my ears pierced. So, because I wanted those cute little round little balls, the little posts that they had.
Yeah.
So she said, okay, we're not going to take you to Piercing Pagoda in the mall. We're going to take you to your pediatrician, and he's going to do a really good job. So we go to Dr. Starkweather, my pediatrician, and he sits me down and he rubs a little alcohol on the lobe. And then he takes out this like literally harpoon as if he were some kind of Ecuadorian native in the Amazon. And he spears my ear. He just like he said, look over there. Boom. It was so painful. And then he put the earring in. And I said, you're not doing my other ear. And my mother said, Christine, you cannot have one earring. You have to. I said, I don't want to have it done. He did it. Mary, it was the most painful experience of my life. My ears got infected. For 2 years, I was not able to take these things out of my ears. But
did they call him Ishmael?
I swear to God, I saw that white whale outside on Township Line Road.
Yeah, no, and it's so funny. The people who think it's perfectly fine to do that with their ear, like stick metal through it and then hang things off of it, think it's disgusting to do it through their nose. I'm like, why?
You know what's even worse? I told you, I'm ethnically, culturally, mostly Italian, and Italian years ago. It was the thing to pierce the ears of an infant, little baby girl.
They still do. These
little baby girls with these little tiny, and I'm looking, it's like, she can't be more than 2 months old, and she's rocking a pair of earrings.
The Hispanics do that a lot. A
Hmm.
lot of Central and South American cultures do that now too. And I'm like, why not let her decide on her own if she wants two holes in her head?
I know. It's kind of like the female equivalent of circumcision. You
There you,
know, it's not quite as bad, but it's like, I'm
yeah,
sorry, those
no.
babies don't look happy about it either.
No, no. All right. Joe. Oh, hi, Joe. How are you? I think Joe's new. Joe says Marissa Tomei played Edith Bunker in the All in the Family remake opposite Woody Harrelson as Archie. I
I never
forgot
saw
about
that.
that. Did you watch it?
I never saw that. No.
Oh, they did it live. They did it live. It was they did that live. They also did a Jeffersons live. They did a couple of others on it was like on ABC.
Oh my
And
goodness. She would have been
yeah,
great. She
they
would have
took
been a great
original
Edith.
they took original scripts from one of those shows
Hmm.
and then they redid them. They were pretty good, I have to say. They were not as horrific as I thought it was going to be. It's actually pretty good. Porchview Farm, the Trump case is the test to confiscate private business, in my opinion. Well, that's what they do in Venezuela, right? They confiscate all the private businesses. Star Driver says no one talks about how Obama laundered 65 million through some Canadian publishing company that published the Common Core math books after U.S. taxpayers spent 350 million. That's right. Didn't they also do? Wasn't it a Canadian company that also did the website for Obamacare that was a total disaster?
Yeah.
And they paid them like hundreds of millions of dollars for that. And you could have had it as been a high school project, and it would have been better and free.
Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada.
um, Scott said they said that Trump is the only one they've gone after for the same thing that lots of other people do, but they have just gone after him. Well, Kathy Hochul reminded everyone, don't worry about it. We're not going. It's don't. You're fine if you follow the rules. You'll be fine. In other words, we're not going to look at anybody else. So it's okay. You're not Trump. We're fine.
Nobody pays attention to Kathy Hochul. Kathy Hochul just sort of lucked into the governorship because Andrew Cuomo couldn't keep it in his pants.
Yeah, when he killed a bunch of people by putting COVID, patients in nursing
That too.
homes.
That too. But that wasn't the reason that he is no longer
Right?
governor, which I always found incredibly crazy that, okay, he wasn't nice to a couple of women, but no, kill grandma and he still stays in office. That's why I hate the Me Too movement, because it's just it's
Oh, 100%.
you're killing a flea with an AK-47.
But did you notice there's been no charges brought up in any of that?
In what? In that? No, yeah, with the COVID death?
Sexual
No.
assault, killing people in nursing homes because Wolf did it in Pennsylvania, and what's her name? I got Hochul stuck in my head. That's not her. Out west, the one with the assassination attempt hoax.
Oh,
Whitmer,
Gretchen
Gretchen Whitmer,
Whitmer.
Murphy did it.
Our
New
secretary, our Pennsylvania's former secretary of health, who was Rachel Levin, who was Robert Levin, but is now a trans person, was elevated to Secretary of Health or Deputy Secretary of Health in the federal government, and he created the conditions where many elderly Pennsylvanians died on his watch, on her watch, on whatever its watch. So, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. Not only have they not been brought up on charges, but in some cases, they've actually been elevated to higher positions, like Levin.
Of course. Oh yeah, she's the one who always wears the blue military outfit with very like thick, straight up and down body with the hair and the voice of a man.
Exactly. Yes. But he is the first female whatever this and that. No, he's not. No, he's not. But that's a topic for another day.
It is. But here's the thing. If you don't at least put some effort into this, I'm not playing along with you. I'm not playing the game if you don't put some effort into it.
But Mayor, unfortunately, you can only work with what you got. And he was actually not bad looking when he was still
a dude.
A dude, or presenting as a dude. There's just some things you just can't tweak. Unfortunately, you're stuck with what you got.
All right, so we got a lot of fun comments here. Star Driver says another thing people don't talk about is all the big businesses that left New York because of the crap. Remington left for Georgia, Kimber left for Alabama. Both are firearms manufacturers. Well, I'm sure New York was happy to see them go. We'll show them. Chris Christie, Putin's killed political opponents at least 4 times. He seems to favor poison. Yes, and that's why they're not releasing Navalny's body, because
Of
the
course.
longer that they hold it, the more it dissipates from the body. So there you go.
Of course. And
Yes.
Yulia, his widow, is she's going to be Coretta Scott King, or she's going to be Merle Evers. She's going to make sure that there is an investigation into this, and even in the international excuse me, criminal tribunal. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're hiding so much.
All right, we got to wrap up here because I'm looking at the time and I got to go pack. I haven't had my dinner yet either, and neither has Christine. Star Driver says conventions, conferences, etc. all need to stop going to New York City. I don't know who goes there anymore, because it's a lot of paperwork if you get stabbed. Now same thing in Philly. I don't go there either. Now tax blue cities will be the end of the U.S. as we know it. Star Driver, just so people know, it costs $100 for a tractor trailer to cross the GWB. Now New York City is going to charge an additional $25 to enter the city. Yes, with congestion pricing can go up as much as, I think, $39, just shy of $40 for an 18-wheeler on top of the tolls to go across the bridges. So there you go. He also says, The View is jealous of Trump's lawyer because she's hot and doesn't have a penis.
If she were hot and had a penis, would they like her?
No, I think it was a joke about how they're manly. I think that's what that was about. You know who makes the best jokes about The View? Greg Gutfeld. His show Gutfeld. Hilarious. I was in physical therapy 2 weeks ago, and The View was on, and I just said to my therapist, and the sound was off, thank you, Jesus. But I said to my therapist, I go like, I'm not complaining. You do what you want to do. I go, but I'm dumber every time that show's on. I'm dumber at the end of it. I know. And he didn't know it was on. He's like, oh, we're not supposed to have that on.
Can I just say something? Yeah, she is hot, whatever. But I don't think The View is jealous of her good looks, because they have some good looking women on there, even though, their views are horrific. I think it's whenever you have an independent thinking woman who doesn't follow, like a lemming, the liberal sort of, the narrative. It really doesn't have to do with what you look like. It has to do with what you say, right, who you believe in, your principles. And yeah, if you're hot, that makes it even worse, because then, it's like, oh, damn, we're supposed to, only the only good looking women who exist are the ones who have liberal ideals, who believe in abortion rights, and who believe in, whatever other liberal agenda is put on the table. But I really do think that The View, I think that they feel insecure when they're 100%. Faced with a smart woman who doesn't
100%. 100%. And they're also ugly on the inside too. Star says that butterfly tattoo in 40 years will look like a pterodactyl.
Yes, absolutely. And not
Chris Christie,
one like in Jurassic Park.
Chris Christie says that anchor tattoo might be from the 1880s or 1800s.
It's the only one I like. All the other ones are gross.
That piece nose with the ring in it, the nose ring type piece, reminds me of a bull with a ring in its nose. It also makes me makes a great handle in a fight. That's so true. How do they blow their nose? Like if they get a really bad cold, like what do you do?
There's a server at a cafe that I go to who I pray that she doesn't serve me, because she literally has that thing. And all I can think of is Elsie the Borden cow.
Yes.
Elsie the cow. I'm like, yeah, lady, I just want to milk you. I mean, because this thing is just, and it's right there in your face, and it's just, or the ones that are in their eyebrows, and
yes, God. but you're okay with the exact same thing through your ears.
Yeah, but it's covered up.
See, I look at that and I'm like,
wore long earrings, so
hypocrites. Dan, I have a Death Before Dishonor USMC tat. Is that okay?
Yes, because it's USMC. Let me be clear on this. Marines can do whatever they want. A Marine can have a tattoo on his forehead, and that's fine. Semper Fi.
May I say that during Fleet Week in New York, the Marines got to have the hottest dress uniforms, upside down and sideways. The best. They look the hottest during Fleet Week when you're in New York. The Marines outshine everyone. They're definitely hot. The uniform
No
helps.
one like a Marine. My daddy was in the Army. Um, love the cadets, but there is no, my uncle Louis was a Marine. There's nothing like a Marine.
100%. Okay, let's see. Star says Levin bought his military uniform on Etsy.
It was on, yeah, it was reduced 5 times.
Porch View Farm says, anyone else notice Levine and or Cheney, Levine and Cheney are never in the same room together? uh, Greg, Mary, 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 how many times last week did you go up and down that mountain each day? What does that
What
have to
mountain?
do with anything? We were skiing last week.
Oh,
I don't,
in
were we
Idaho. You
talking
were in
about that?
Idaho, right?
Yeah. Were we
Beautiful.
talking about that, Greg? What did I miss? We're a little behind on the comments. What did I miss? That's the one that I don't know where it goes. I don't know where that goes. Now Tax USA says, one shout out. Looks like Lara Trump is picking Scott Pressler to head up voter registration if she gets on the RNC board. Yes, we all need to support Scott's effort.
Scott's a great guy.
Yes,
Scott
he is
is,
fantastic.
and he's very selfless. He has no ego whatsoever. He's an amazing, amazing young man.
And just so everybody knows, wherever you happen to live, if Scott ever comes to your town, and he's recruiting people to work gun shows or whatever, if he's there, he never pays for a hotel because he's not making money on this. So people put him up, and I've met him several times. I know people who have put him up in their home,
Mm-hmm.
and they said he is just lovely. He's
Yeah,
wonderful. So
you get
if
that. Yeah.
if you got an extra bedroom and he happens to be in your area, you should maybe you want it's better. Well, listen, some people are taking in illegals. Maybe you can take in an American. So there you go. That would be wonderful if that happens. All right, Shore Essentials. Anyone lucky enough to score a pair of gold Trump sneakers? No, but
No.
I didn't want them. I do like the white ones, the white low tops, but they're $200. I don't have that kind of cash.
Yeah,
But
I'm not spending $200 to $400 on a pair of sneakers. I don't wear sneakers anyway. I'm not
I
a
do.
sneaker kind of girl.
I've had 3 foot surgeries. I wear sneakers a lot.
I wear ballet flats, but not sneakers.
Very bad for your feet.
No.
There's a guy. So it was, and I retweeted it. If you go to Mary Walter Radio and you're Flower Lady 61, follow us on Twitter. We would love that. But I retweeted a video of a guy named Shaney Rich. And, excuse me. And it was Roman Sharf who owns, I forget what Roman Sharf owns. He owns something I've never heard of. So it's probably expensive. Roman Sharf. He's the founder of Luxury Bazaar and Gray Market series. So Luxury Bazaar. So there was a thing that went around that said that a Russian CEO bought a pair of Trump sneakers for $9,000. So somebody bought them for $9,000, which these people who paid $400 for these sneakers and got them are reselling them now on eBay for like $5,000. And he got a pair, $9,000, because the first 10 pairs are signed by Trump. And there were all these headlines that a Russian CEO got them, and Russians are donating to Trump's campaign, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you go to my page and look I tweeted this out like 6 hours ago, and this guy, Roman Sharf, has the sneakers, and he made a video. And he's talking about all these different headlines, calling him a Russian oligarch, a Russian CEO, donating to Trump's campaign, blah, blah, blah. But it turns out he is Ukrainian, not Russian. And he came to this country when he was 13. His dad had $4 in his pocket. They came legally to this country. And he said, I did every dirty job I could do from the time I arrived in this country. He speaks English, so
Sounds
he
like a lot of my
assimilated.
clients.
Yep. He speaks English, so he's assimilating. He's not demanding that we speak Ukrainian. He worked he said, I worked every dirty job I could. No job was too small. No job was too dirty. And now he is a multi-millionaire who owns this company, and he loves Trump.
God bless
And
America.
Yep. And he bought it, but he would just wanted to put it all to rest that he's not a Russian CEO, he's not a Russian oligarch, because these people just run with these headlines. If it's in a headline, they believe it and off they go.
And you know
He's
what's
actually a
sad?
Ukrainian immigrant.
I have to say this too. I despise Putin and I despise Russia as it is currently configured and what that government is doing. Many of the Russian people are amazing. They're good. They're decent. They're they're people of faith. They're people who lived under extremely horrific conditions. So the Russian people themselves, many of them are out in the streets right now, risking their lives and their safety, protesting the murder of Alexei Navalny. I really get angry when the left and when some people on the right go after Russians as Russians, that every Russian person is a Russian bot or a Russian oligarch or this or that. Um, you know, I look at governments. I see evil in governments and politicians. I don't see them in the nationality of the people. So I get really upset when I hear people throwing these things out. Oh, it's a Russian bot. Oh, it's a Russian this or it's a Russian that. There's a lot to admire among the Russian people and the Russian history and the Russian tradition. Just the fact that Vladimir Putin is one of the most evil monsters of our time doesn't mean that the Russian people are equally vile.
True. That is very true. It's just like, it's the same thing. Look, it just because, Biden's our president doesn't mean we're all morons.
Right. Exactly. I mean, same, yeah, exactly.
Star Driver one says, if I wanted to see a bunch of heifers bellowing and farting, I'd go out to the barnyard and not watch The View. He also says, Scott for Scott Pressler. Dan says, since Christine loves Marines, I'll have to follow her on X now. So there you go. All right, we got to get out of here because it's 8:36 and I haven't had dinner, and neither has Christine, and I have to pack for tomorrow. I got to be out the door by 10 a.m. on my way to Washington.
I want pictures. I want
Oh,
you to
yeah.
be all over social media on CPAC. I want to follow it vicariously through you.
So next year you should come.
I'm coming next year. Last year we talked about this, and I said this year I was going to come. I'm definitely going to be there next year. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Now Tax USA says good night. I'll see you next week. And I know that Greg is going to jump in here with NYTOL, night all. Thank you, everybody. And don't forget, follow Christine's Flower Lady 61 on X. You can also find her on a Facebook as well. Real quick, Chris Christie says, agreed, Christine. I feel the same way about Democrats. Most of them are just trying to live their lives. It's the Democrat politicians that piss me off. Take care of you too.
Bravo.
So yeah, yay. All right. Again, the audio will be available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Just look for Mary Walter Radio. Please subscribe to the Pit channel. Please like the podcast. Feel free to go back and watch old ones. If you go to the live tab, you will see the podcast from Idaho last week, which I admit the internet was a little funky, but there was some really great, scenery. Todd Starnes the week before that, Jeffrey Dove, just me, Bobby Barack. So there's a lot of them, and I really appreciate you watching them and liking them. Thank you so much, Christine. As always, my friend, you're the best. And thank you for jumping in. I appreciate it. We have to do this more often. It's fun. The time flies.
And I love your show. When I go down in the morning to do the treadmill, I'm always watching your shows. So it's a treasure trove, guys. I don't have to tell your followers out there, but you are you are a treasure, and your voice is just so necessary in this day and age. You are worth 1,000 view Harridans.
Well, thank you so much. And where can people read your column?
Well, it's syndicated through a company called the Kagel Syndicate. So if you go www.kagel.com, there's a whole list of them. Annoying liberals left and right. So,
and that's how you know you're doing a great job. So kudos to you, my friend. Keep up the good fight. Have a great one. Bye, everybody. I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.
Have a safe trip.
Thank you.